Hello and Happy New Year and welcome to this edition of To Talk. Joining us today is the new county clerk, Pam Mabry. Prior to serving as the clerk, Pam worked part-time in the state court of Cobb County in the clerk's office in the civil division. And then since 1998, she's worked full-time jobs in the county attorney's office. She was a human resources department as a recruiter, county attorney's office again, and then she was Chairman Olin's commission assistant. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, and so let's start off and let's tell the audience a little bit about what the county clerk does.
Okay. The county clerk's office is responsible for being the recorder of all Board of Commissioner action, and that goes into the preparation of the agendas that we put together twice a month for your meetings, and then also being in charge of those minutes and making those available.
And that's probably the most difficult part, right? Because we don't remember what we said.
Absolutely, and luckily we've got great technology in place that we can go back. We take great notes during the meeting, but we also are able to go back and look at those and make sure that everything that we put in the minutes is accurate. And we want it to tell a story. We want the the departments to be able to go back and look at that and see what happened, and also the citizens so that they can go back and really look through and see what happens in a meeting. And of course, we go a step further with that. Those minutes are what enables us to send contracts through, resolutions through to the chairman for signature. So they're a very important part of our office.
And there's actually quite a bunch of sets of minutes that you're taking. It's not just
Absolutely.
the Board of Commissioners.
Yes, we have the Board of Commissioners that we do, of course, for the 2 meetings that happen each month. Work sessions that go along with those, we prepare minutes for those as well. And then also executive, if we ever go into an executive session, I prepare minutes for that. And then on the zoning side, we have that. And that, of course, we have 1 meeting a month for zoning, but their planning commission that goes into that as well. So we prepare minutes for that along with their work sessions as well. And then we also have the Board of Zoning Appeals. So that's a work session along with another public hearing.
Right, and a lot of the times, a lot of these meetings, you know, the number of meetings that we have and all that are required by law, but a lot of the timing is we have to give the board and all these other groups have to give you time to get the minutes done.
Absolutely.
It's actually a lot of work to put them together, even though the different meetings are recorded. You actually have to, you're taking, you're putting into the computer the minutes, and then you have to compile the minutes, and then they have to present it to us for approval, and so there's a lot of work by your office.
There is. It's a lot of work, and luckily we've got a staff. I've got a great staff that's working with me to get those minutes put out. And there's a rhythm. There's definitely a rhythm that we have that we're getting certain minutes ready for the next time that same board meets so that they're ready for approval.
So now, in addition to keeping the minutes, you are also the custodian of the county code.
Absolutely, and that we're starting that process. We've actually coming up. And tomorrow night's hearing will be the first public hearing on the code amendments. So we do that twice a year. So we are certainly working through that twice a year. And then in the meantime, Municode that we work with puts together those supplements. And so we're editing those supplements, making sure what we've sent them is accurate. So we're getting ready to roll out the next supplement.
Yeah, and just so people know, I mean, the county code is a book about this thick.
It's huge.
Yes.
It absolutely is huge. And then it's available online. So we are moving. We certainly still have a large audience that has a print, record of the Municode, but it is available. Anybody can access it, from the county website. So it is certainly there for anybody to look at.
And then another role, I don't think people realize that each commissioner, for example, has between 50 and 60 appointments that they have to make as a commissioner, and your office manages and maintains a database that kind of tells us when those appointments are due. Like, for example, in an upcoming agenda that we have, I think I have like 6 or 7 various different appointments, and some of those have to be voted on, some of them are just announcements, and you all maintain that, correct?
We do. Currently we're using a program that's called Board Tracker, and that's what your commission assistants look at. That's what our office looks at so that we can see when those terms expire, know when it's time to do an appointment. So we certainly have some that require board approval, and like you said, some that are just announced. So we do have a great many of those coming up on this next agenda. But Board Tracker is what we're currently using, but we're working with our Information Services office to move that over to what we're calling BAM.
Okay.
and it's more of a, I guess, more of a web-based format. So I think it's going to be a little more user-friendly for your staff, for the other commission assistants, and then for our office to get that information input, because we want to make sure that what you're looking at is the most accurate record.
And folks may wonder why there are so many different appointments. Some of these are were created by the state. Some of them are state agencies, hospital authorities, development authorities. But others it is a means for the average citizen to become involved. It can be the rec board, the library board, and things like that. So it's real important to kind of know when and if we have any vacancies. And then one of the last things that you all do is you basically maintain the rules and procedures for the board.
Yeah, we maintain those rules and procedures, not just for the Board of Commissioners, but also for the Planning Commission and the Board of Zoning Appeals. So we have all of those, and those get updated periodically by the board, and so we'll just, those will be sent out again if there's updates, and those are available online as well.
Right, so there's quite a lot of things going on in your office. So how many meetings, now I know that obviously we just talked about the fact that there is someone from your office at every one of these meetings taking minutes, but in actuality, there's usually 2 of you there.
Yes.
And then I know a lot of times if you're not one of the ones sitting up at the dais with us, you're actually in the audience. So
yeah, I think it's important to be there, and especially being a new clerk, it's important for me to see all the meetings and know exactly what's going on. So I think that part has been important. But I don't want to take away from my, deputy clerks if they're, we've got 2 ladies that are assigned to zoning, so I certainly don't want to come in and take that away from them, because that's important for them to be involved in. But I need to know what's going on in those meetings.
And also it helps too if you have some of your deputy clerks that they do zoning.
Yes.
Then they're familiar with it, because the language and just kind of some of the terminology and everything can be very unique in the zoning versus the regular commission meetings.
Yeah, totally different types of meetings, and it's a process because it comes out of Planning Commission then to the BOC, and so I think it's important for those for the same people to attend those meetings. I mean, certainly things come up and we can make adjustments, but I think it's important because you're with the recommendations of the Planning Commission also become part of what you might stipulate into a zoning record.
Right.
So it's a little different.
If as a clerk you'd been there at the Planning Commission meeting, you're pretty familiar with what, and then of course there's the personalities of the members of the various different boards.
Absolutely.
Because that kind of if you're kind of familiar with what we're doing, then it's a little bit easier to follow along when we're kind of making things on the fly.
Absolutely.
So local high school, Harrison, right?
Graduated from
Kennesaw
Harrison.
State, and born and raised here in Marietta too, right?
Yes. Always lived in Cobb County. Actually, my husband is also from Cobb County, so yeah, I don't plan on ever leaving.
Well, great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us. And as you all can tell, Pam's office does a tremendous service for the county and really helps keep everything kind of going. So thanks for joining us.
All right, thank you for having me.
All right, after a short break, we'll be right back.
Welcome home, man.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.
But it would be safe to keep your distance until the
No secret that laughter makes you smile.
reliable sources say that chicken soup has found their way out of this dangerous, but it is safe until they are returned.
getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. Go to discovertheforest.org.
Hello and welcome back. Joining us now is Dana Johnson. Dana is the county's new Community Development Agency Director. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Dana's worked both in the city of Marietta and in Cobb County for over the last 15 years. Dana will probably tell you that he trained me with my beginning in the Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals, but grew up in the Northeast in Rhode Island, right?
Grew up in Massachusetts, went to school in Rhode Island. Came
Bachelor
down.
of Arts in Marine Affairs. That
That's
has a lot
correct.
to do with all this, right?
Yeah, suburban mountain areas have everything to do with coastal zone management.
Right. Then got a master's in planning from Georgia Tech, and like we said, you've been with the county for over 15 years. Lots of neighborhood things, neighborhood comprehensive planning strategies. I know you worked very closely with me and your staff on the Johnson Ferry Corridor Study and the Terrell Mill Corridor Study in Powers Ferry. So, welcome. Now, as Community Development Agency Director, you are over 5 different divisions: business license, code enforcement, development and inspections, planning and zoning. Quite a big bunch, but as we all say here at the county, you guys are the ones that deal with almost everybody.
We are the ones that deal with most people in the county, whether you're a resident or a business owner. Somehow you have some dealing with us in community development.
Right, so let's start with the business license.
Sure, the business license is really an occupational tax certificate. So our role there is to really collect taxes from our businesses in order to make sure they're
Right, because there's that misnomer among folks that you're actually issuing a license, but really what it is folks are registering their business so that the proper, like you said, occupational taxes can be collected.
Correct. There are a couple of business types that are regulated by the county. The state allows counties and cities to regulate stuff like alcohol and massage parlors and things that kind of get into issues of morals for individuals.
Right.
But besides that, we really are just a tax collecting agency as it relates to the businesses.
Okay, and folks have to renew their business license once a year.
Every year,
And
every calendar
every
year.
now and then you have to come in front of the board and we do a show cause hearing if someone violated the alcohol rules or something like that. Code enforcement, that is probably the one that I would guess is most important to most of our viewers.
We get a lot of calls on code enforcement, and the role of code enforcement is to uphold a certain number of sections of the code, the zoning code being the one probably most people are aware of and are cognizant of. So just really their job is to help make sure that properties are taken care of at a certain level, and to make sure that as developments are getting built, that the zoning stipulations are being handled as part of that.
Okay, yeah, and that's really important because the quality of a neighborhood or the overall characteristics or what people think of a neighborhood can change so dramatically if the code is not maintained. So now, where we get to prior to code enforcement, of course, is development and inspections. And that's like, basically once a zoning or development is approved, that's really where they kick in. So let's talk a little bit about development first.
Sure, development inspections, they kind of handle 2 main aspects of our development process, which is the land disturbance permit and then the actual making sure the building code is being followed during any vertical development happening on a land. So for the land disturbance permit, that's really getting your infrastructure in. That's making sure that the roads and the sewer and the water and correct fire access is all being handled as far as the development layout is concerned to make sure the infrastructure is proper, whether it's commercial or residential.
Well, and then you actually, and some of this happens in a step that is referred to as plan review.
Correct. And that's where every single department in the county that has a voice in the development process gets around the table with the applicant so we can coordinate together to make sure that we're given the best input possible and comments possible to our customers who come through. We have one of the absolute best processes in the state. A lot of times when people are trying to read, cities and counties are trying to look at best practices and who does the plan review the best, they come to Cobb County because our process is renowned for being very effective and efficient.
Now, and when we're sitting in the plan review, and for any potential applicant, I mean, it's just not a matter of staff saying, well, I think this would be good. There's actually a set of development standards for the county.
Development standards and codes that we are using as our basis for making all recommendations and all comments as it relates to developments coming through.
And it just recently, the county went through a process. It took about a year. I know we worked together on this in kind of rewriting or updating the development standards.
We did. We looked at our development standards and tried to look at redevelopment scenarios and ways that we could make it easier for redevelopment to happen in Cobb County.
Right, because the development standards before the rewrite really were kind of written for undeveloped land being developed and not redevelopment.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that gets to planning, and kind of planning and zoning are somewhat related, but let's talk about planning first.
Planning is kind of your big picture thinkers for how the county is going to grow over the next 20, 30, 40 years. They kind of look out and they do what's called the comprehensive plan, which is a policy document that the Board of Commissioners uses to make decisions, and a lot of private property owners refer to when they're trying to think about what they would like to do with
And
their property.
that comprehensive plan is updated on a yearly basis, and then a little bit more extensively at a 5-year interval. And then in 2016, the county is going to be going through the 10-year update.
That's correct. We're currently in the process of working with the community on the 10-year update. We anticipate that it'll be in front of the Board of Commissioners probably in the late summer, early fall of 2017.
Okay, and then finally, the one that probably gets the most people out sometimes with pitchforks and torches, I think, but that's zoning.
Yes, zoning handles all of your rezonings, variances, special land use permits and land use permits, and signs. So if you are trying to do something with your land, the zoning team are the group that helps to regulate the land and make sure that people's property rights are being respected, and providing additional property rights for people who make requests that fit within the framework of the county's goals.
Right, and you know, that's where folks come. They go in front of the Planning Commission first, and there's a 30-day notice prior to that, and then when folks come, the applicant has 10 minutes, and the opposition, if there is any, they have 10 minutes to present their case, and Planning Commission then makes recommendations to the Board of Commissioners, and then same process goes to the Board of Commissioners, and I think a lot of people don't realize that there's a couple different outcomes from the Planning Commission. They can make a recommendation to approve or deny. They can hold it. They can continue it if there's not enough information. Then when it gets to the Board of Commissioners, cases can go on for a long time.
They can go on for a long time, and the board has a lot of leverage on what they can do with a particular case, including approving, deleting, denying, continue to hold it, or with the applicant's permission, withdraw sometimes if there's mutual agreement that this might not be the best scenario for this particular piece of property. A withdrawal is certainly possible as well.
And I know years back, the Planning Commission meeting basically occurred right ahead of the Board of Commissioners meeting, actually in the same room. The Planning Commission was down at a lower level. And I think, wouldn't you agree that the way it's set up now, basically the Planning Commission, and then 2 weeks later the Board of Commissioners gets a zoning case, I think gives the citizens a lot more opportunity for input.
Absolutely it does. It really does help the community members and those advocating for or against a particular case the opportunity to have their voice heard in multiple platforms.
So now if someone sees one of the yellow signs go up, and each one of those signs, the color is significant. We have the green signs for something that deals with the river corridor, correct?
Correct, yep.
We have a yellow sign, which is for zonings.
Yes.
A pink sign, which is for variances.
Correct.
I think it's an orange sign for comprehensive plan.
Yes.
And I think we have a blue sign, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's for a land use permit.
Land use permit.
There's one more, isn't there?
Purple sign.
Purple sign is?
Special land use
Special land use permit, okay. So now if driving through my community, I see one of these signs, where can I go to get information as to what it means?
Well, you can call Community Development,
Okay.
770-528-2125.
Okay.
You can also go online and you can just Google Cobb County Community Development, and on there you'll see a link for zoning information.
Okay.
And that has your information to all of the upcoming zoning, variance, land use permit, and special land use permit cases.
And actually, for District 2, my assistant Kim puts that on the homepage for District 2 also, the links to the zoning. So both places they can get information.
And it's probably faster to get it directly from the commissioner's website.
Well, but I mean, we want to make sure that, folks. Now, when are these Planning Commission and zoning hearings for folks to come down if they?
The Planning Commission always meets on the first Tuesday of the month.
Okay.
The Board of Commissioners always meets on zoning cases on the third Tuesday of every month. Both meetings start at 9 o'clock in the morning and last as long as cases still need to be heard.
Yes, and the Planning Commission is known to go through lunch and sometimes all the way to dinner,
That is correct.
especially now as the economy has gotten a little bit better. There's a lot more zoning cases. So,
You've definitely seen a pickup in cases.
well, a lot of really good information. What do you see as the challenges facing Cobb over the next 5 years?
I think some of the challenges that we see upcoming is continuing to strike that balance as we change our growth patterns right now. We don't have a lot of undeveloped land left in Cobb County. Certainly there is some in southwest and west Cobb, but most of the other areas of the county are primarily built out. So we're seeing a change in development types as we have more issues of infill development coming through. And when you're dealing with infill development, you have to be really careful that you are respecting people's property rights, what they have on the property, while at the same time protecting all of the surrounding residentials and business owners to make sure that the investment that they've already made in their property is being upheld and upkeep. So that's a really large challenge.
And I know one
for
of the
us.
things that the commissioners have to kind of keep sight of too is, is the current infrastructure, the roads and the water and the sewer, and also the schools, can they support some of these proposals? So like you said, there's a lot of different things. I know District 2 is mostly developed out, but it also has a lot of activity, especially with the stadium. There's a lot of new developments down in the Cumberland Galleria area, but that does not exclude, East Cobb and some of the other areas of the district.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for taking the time to come and talk with us.
Thank you, Commissioner.
It's always a pleasure. That's about it for this month's show. Look forward to seeing you next month.
You wanna go for a ride?
When I saw your face for the first time, I wondered how your life had been. Had anybody held you or loved you? Or had they never noticed you there? What are you doing here? If your eyes could cry, I'd see a tear. The sadness that I see, you're coming home.
Why are you turning in this dog?
Be the best of friends.
Well, we're moving.
How long have you had the dog?
11 years.
You understand the dog will likely be put down?
Yeah.
I'll need you to complete the surrender if you would, please. You're giving up all rights to the dog. Are you okay with this?
Both my eyes have filled with tears. Knowing one will find a home, leaving others fate unknown. You're killing our best friend. There's only so much one can do. That's why I'm out here asking you.
Did you want to keep the collar?
I don't think so.
Don't run away from your fear. That lovers need to learn and finally be concerned. They're killing our best friends. There's only so much one can do. That's why I'm out here asking you. How can you help me?
Every year, in Metro Atlanta alone, nearly 90,000 unwanted animals are put to death. It is epidemic and unnecessary. The problem can be fixed. Spay and neuter your animals. The time to act is now. Stop the needless killing. Please help us. www.mostlymutts.org.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Each year, our children are put at risk by drivers who ignore bus stop arms and warning lights. In Cobb County alone, more than 1,000 drivers ignore them every day. The Cobb Police Department and Cobb Schools have partnered with Operation Stop Arm to educate drivers about the new law to save lives.
Tragically, a young child was killed at a bus stop by a passing car in 2009.
While we were being interviewed by the news crew, a driver ran through the stop arm of the bus.
We had just installed new stop arm cameras on some of our buses and were able to hand the photo over to law enforcement. And now, with the new law, hopefully we will reduce violations of the stop arm law and have additional evidence to cite violators.
Drivers who pass a school bus with a stop arm activated can receive up to a $1,000 fine from the court and get 6 points tacked onto their driver's history. It is a serious offense.
So next time you're in a hurry and you're tempted to pass a stopped school bus,
Yeah, salad on Saturday, fruit on Friday, throw a ball Thursday. Water Wednesday, touch your toes Tuesday. Let's move Monday, swap us next Sunday.
60 minutes of physical activity a day and eating well can help get your child healthy. So keep them active and eating well every day. Get ideas, get involved, get going at letsmove.gov. That's letsmove.gov.
Every child is curious. George, look what I found. Turn their curiosity into a lifelong love of learning. Create a curious reader. This is super bedtime reading. Share a book together today. Visit read.gov.